Welcome to World Beer News. These are the latest reports on the malt beverage industry for the third week of November. I'm Nitch with a selection of highlights from around the world. How good are you at making beer without water? Brewers in Bolivia are having to do just that, with a nationwide water shortage causing not only governmental mandated cutbacks on water, but also self-imposed material rationing. Also coming up, a government official in Australia publicly denounces AB InBev-owned KIWI due to an ongoing worker protest. In California, prominent businesses are cutting ties with Goose Island's Bourbon County, saying brands like these are muddying the water between what is craft and what is not. Over in New Zealand, residents are recovering from recent earthquakes with specialized beer deliveries and by giving yeast autonomous sensory meridian responses. All that coming up. But first, let's go over to Bolivia. An unusual drought described by the government as the worst of the past 25 years has 142 of the country's 339 municipalities in a state of emergency because of the loss of crops and livestock. The government enacted a dozen decrees this week to address the emergency, primarily with the allocation of $6.9 million to provide farmers with essential materials. TED sent over these reports. The Bolivian National Brewery announced that it will optimize its production cycle for the lack of water. We are in an emergency. We have 5 plants throughout Bolivia, and the problem of drought is already affecting various departments. We are concerned about the possibility of having to stop production at some plants. That story from TED. We will continue to follow up and hope for the best. Now, we continue with the Carlton United Brewery's protest and boycott going on in Melbourne, Australia, as it enters its 4th month. Stephen Mills, a Queensland government minister, has condemned KIWI over its treatment of workers at a sustainability award ceremony on Thursday night, where the brewing group was a major sponsor. Check out the video.
Finally, Carlton and United Breweries. KIWI have sponsored the beer tonight. Now, I love KIWI beer, but I won't be having one tonight. I'm boycotting KIWI beer in protest after they sacked 55 workers and offered them their jobs back with a 65% pay cut. I, for one, don't think anyone should be treated like that. So I look forward tonight to sharing a glass of wine with you all and celebrating the very many amazing achievements of nominees and winners tonight in the Premier's Sustainability Awards. Have a great night.
Observers said this prompted a frosty response from a KIWI representative who pointedly snubbed Miles by refusing to shake his hand when joining him on stage to present the Business Eco-Efficiency Award. KIWI itself refuses to respond to media requests on the topic. They still have taken no action on the issue with the former employees, and prior to AB InBev's merger, they claimed that the treatment of the workers was legal and the prerogative of a maintenance subcontractor, which they had no direct contractual relationship to. They also did not directly comment on the inferior conditions offered to the workers. Now, with Constellation Brands' heavy reliance on Mexican imports in the United States of America, many analysts feared the effect President-elect Donald Trump, who has promised to build a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, and also threatened to tear up the North American Free Trade Agreement, would have on the company's stock. Paul Hederich, the Constellation Brands executive vice president, said last week, it's really, really early to speculate on what's going to happen with any and all of this. One thing we do believe will be good is the Republican control of the White House and Congress. So Justin Kendall over at BrewBound outlined some of the company's recent movements. Check these out. Wall Street credit rating agencies Fitch and Standard & Poor's have issued a minimal risk investment grade status to Constellation Brands. They've also, Constellation has also introduced Corona Premier in order to compete with Michelob Ultra. They plan to place Ballast Point brew pubs in select U.S. cities. Also, $600 million worth of a deal to purchase Oberon Mexico Brewing from Grupo Modelo, which is an AB InBev subsidiary, is in the works. They will also build a $1.5 billion brewery in Mexicali, Mexico, which will have initial capacity of 10 million hectoliters and the capabilities to scale up to 20 million hectoliters. Also, they have inked a sponsorship deal with Barclays Center and the NBA's Brooklyn Nets that will place Ballast Point, Corona Extra, and Modelo Especial brand bars throughout the area. That being said, in a great article from the Sacramento Bee, Blair Anthony Robertson sat down with Cat Tap owner Ken Hotchkiss to discuss his choice to discontinue selling AB InBev, which includes Bourbon County.
I definitely see it becoming more confusing, but I don't see it as being in trouble. I think, at least from my standpoint, it's the greatest time ever. I have no problem getting great beers on tap, and that, you know, for a long time it was just the best beer we could get, whether that be Bourbon County or whether it be AleSmith. But now I feel like there's so many choices that it's easier for me to support independent brewers.
To see the full interview, check out the link in the description below, where you can also find links to all the stories covered here today. And while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your other beer geek networks. Now we go to northern New Zealand, where a 7.8 magnitude earthquake took place last week, leaving residents with rescue and cleanup. Since then, aftershock earthquakes have been off and on, having seismologists scratching their heads as the sequences fall within the lower end of their forecasted range. Whatever the aftermath, beer was brought in to the rescue from air by a helicopter company who delivered 40 cases of 24 packs of beer donated by locals. Australia, Ryan Kelly, a food scientist and international beer judge, teamed up with acoustic engineer Jason Wright for a sound experiment in which they say reduced wastage by 20%.
And we're trying to assess what that does to the beer. It's been recorded that sound has effect on yeast metabolism. So it does a few things. It can affect the growth rate of the yeast cells. It can affect the actual metabolic processes within the cells themselves. And it can also affect the biomass, how much they grow during the fermentation or the pre-fermentation.
Don't get excited though. The vibrations sounded more like a constant hum and are more closely related to the effects of ASMR. Napoleon Bonaparte said, "China's a sleeping giant. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will move the world." So although China has failed to live up to expectations that aroused about 15 years ago as a hop-growing market, with 1.35 billion consumers, it's no surprise that China is the world's largest producer of beer, 12 years running. It produces more than double of that of the United States and has increased production by more than 5% since last year. So that may not be surprising. But what is surprising? Brussels Beer Challenge results were announced last week. China took 4 bronze, 2 silver, and a gold medal for their Everest Ale. Look out, people. China's coming. That's all for now. I'm off to listen to some beery ASMR sounds to hopefully increase my productivity. If you'd like to connect, please send us an email at news@tastynitch.com or join our Discord channel. Be sure to check out our live stream every Sunday on Beam, where you can join us to discuss these topics unedited and with a drink in hand. Until next week, au revoir.